I stood outside the conference room door and I heard my father's voice. My son built this platform from scratch. Every line of code, every client pitch, he did it alone. I froze. The investor's voice came next. And your daughter? What's her role? My father didn't even hesitate. Oh, she helps out where she can. Administrative stuff mostly. That's when I realized my own father had rewritten history. And I was the one he'd erased. My name's Sophia. I'm 26 years old. And 3 years ago, my father asked me to help him get a small project off the ground. A client management platform, he called it. Something simple. I'd studied computer science, worked at 2 tech startups before that. I knew what I was doing, so I said yes. I designed the architecture. I coded the back end. I pitched to the first 5 clients myself. Stayed up until 3 in the morning fixing bugs, testing features, writing documentation. 6 months later, my brother Daniel joined. He's 2 years older than me. He helped with marketing, presentations. He was good at that stuff, confident, polished. I didn't mind. I wasn't flashy. I didn't post on LinkedIn. I didn't take credit in meetings. I just worked. But slowly, things started to shift. Sophia helped with some of the coding. Sophia assisted on that pitch. My contributions got smaller and smaller in every conversation. My father had always favored Daniel, treated him like the successor, treated me like the helper. I told myself it didn't matter, as long as the work got done, right? I lived in a small apartment, drove an old car, poured everything I had into that company. I didn't need the spotlight. I just wanted to be seen, just once. If you've ever been pushed aside by family, subscribe right now and tell me where you're watching from. Because what I didn't realize back then was that silence can be erased. But code, documents, emails, those don't lie. The investor meeting wasn't supposed to go the way it did. We were seeking Series A funding, $2 million. It was huge for us. I'd prepared everything. The pitch deck, the financials, the demo. I stayed up 3 nights straight making sure every slide was perfect, every number was right. The morning of the meeting, my father pulled Daniel aside in the hallway. "You're presenting," he said. "Investors prefer confidence." I stepped forward. "Dad, I built this. I know every detail." He barely looked at me. "You'll be there. Just let him lead. He has the presence." I wanted to argue, but I didn't. The meeting started. Daniel stood at the front of the room, presenting my slides. He stumbled on the second one, a technical question about database architecture. I whispered the answer from the side. He repeated it like it was his own. Then an investor asked about platform scalability. Daniel froze. I started to answer. My father cut me off. "My son can handle this." Daniel fumbled through some non-answer about cloud, infrastructure. I watched the investors exchange glances, the kind of glances that meant they didn't believe him. And then my father started talking. That's when I heard it. The speech from the hallway. My son built this platform from scratch. Every line of code, every client pitch. He did it alone. I sat there, silent, invisible. One of the investors looked directly at me. "What's your role here?" I opened my mouth. My father answered first. "Administrative support, some coding assistance. Mostly she keeps things organized." Daniel said nothing. Didn't correct him. Didn't defend me. The meeting ended awkwardly. The investors stood, shook hands, said they'd be in touch. Their tone told me everything. Outside, I confronted my father in the parking lot. "I built this," I said. "You know I built this." He didn't even blink. "You're too emotional. This is why I had him present." Daniel shrugged. "Dad's just trying to close the deal. Don't take it personally. Don't take it personally. That night, I checked my email. The investors had passed. Their message was polite but clear. Lack of technical credibility from leadership. The next morning, my father called me into his office. "You made us look disorganized," he said. "You should have stayed quiet." I stared at him. I was quiet. Not quiet enough. A week later, it got worse. One of our biggest clients was visiting town, a client I'd personally signed a year earlier. I'd spent hours on the phone with them, walking them through demos, answering their questions, building trust. I saw the calendar invite by accident. Dinner meeting, my father, Daniel, the client. I wasn't on it. I walked into my father's office. "That's my client. I brought them on." He didn't look up from his computer. "This is relationship maintenance. You're not the face clients expect." Daniel was standing by the door. He added, "We've got it covered. You can prep the follow-up deck." I should have let it go, but I didn't. I showed up at the restaurant anyway. Stood outside. Watched through the window. The client looked around the table. I saw him mouth the words, "Where's Sophia?" My father gestured casually. I couldn't hear him, but I knew what he was saying. "She's handling another urgent matter, but we're fully aligned." The client looked disappointed, but he stayed. I left before they saw me. I realized something that night. My father wasn't just minimizing me. He was systematically cutting me out. 2 weeks later, we had Sunday dinner at my parents' house. Extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins. My uncle asked about the company. "Heard you're raising money. Must be exciting." My father's face lit up. "My boy here built something special. We're talking millions." My aunt glanced at me. "What about Sophia? Isn't she involved?" My father laughed. Actually laughed. "She helps out. Does some of the computer stuff. But this is really Daniel's vision." I was sitting right there. "I wrote every line of code," I said. My voice was quiet but steady. "I designed the entire platform." My father's face hardened. "Let's not exaggerate, you assisted." Daniel kept eating, didn't say a word. My mother patted my hand. "You've always been so supportive of your brother," my cousin whispered, loud enough for the table to hear. "Must be hard living in his shadow." I excused myself, locked myself in the bathroom, and I cried. I heard my father's voice through the door. "She's always been sensitive. That's why I can't put her in leadership." But the worst part came a month later. A tech blog reached out. They wanted to interview someone about the platform's unique feature. An algorithm I'd developed. I'd created it, filed the internal documentation, even presented it at a developer conference 6 months earlier. The article came out on a Tuesday. It was Daniel, not me. The quote read, "I developed this algorithm after months of trial and error. It's my proudest achievement." No mention of me. Anywhere. I printed the article, walked into Daniel's office, dropped it on his desk along with my original documentation. "You lied," I said. He barely looked up. "Dad said it'd be better for the brand if I was the face. You understand, right? That's my work." "It's the family company," he said. "Does it really matter who gets credit?" "It matters to me." He sighed, like I was exhausting him. "This is why Dad doesn't take you seriously. You're too focused on yourself." That's when I understood. They didn't think they were doing anything wrong. They genuinely believed I should be grateful to contribute silently. So I stopped arguing, and I started documenting. Every email I sent, every line of code I wrote, every client meeting I led, I saved it all. What they didn't know was that I'd been careful from the beginning. Every piece of code I wrote had time-stamped commits under my name in version control. Every client I signed had an email trail, my pitches, my negotiations. The algorithm Daniel claimed as his? I'd filed an invention disclosure with our company lawyer, dated 6 months before his interview. I'd also quietly reached out to 3 of our original clients, asked them for LinkedIn recommendations. They praised me, specifically. One of them wrote, "Sophia is the backbone of this platform. Without her, we wouldn't have signed." I'd been approached by competitor companies too. On LinkedIn, good offers, senior roles. I'd turned them all down, out of loyalty, but I kept those messages, just in case. There was one more thing, the platform's admin access. I'd built it. I controlled the root permissions. I'd never handed over master access to anyone. My father never asked. He assumed Daniel had it. They thought I was just the quiet one, the helper. But I was the one holding all the keys. I kept a journal too, detailed notes of every meeting, every insult, every contribution that got erased. Not for revenge, for proof. For the day I'd need to defend myself. I wasn't planning a takedown. I was planning my survival. Jessica was our contract lawyer. She was in her 40s. Sharp. Observant. She pulled me aside after a meeting one afternoon. "I saw the interview," she said. "That algorithm. You filed the disclosure, not Daniel." I was exhausted. "No one cares." "I care," she said. "And legally, this could become a problem if you ever leave." She suggested I formalize intellectual property agreements. Protect my contributions. I hesitated. "That'll cause a war. Or it'll cause honesty." That same week, my father made an announcement at dinner. "We're restructuring," he said. "Daniel will be CEO. I'll be chairman." I set down my fork. "What about me?" "You'll report to Daniel. Junior developer role. It's more appropriate." A demotion. After 3 years of building the company from nothing. Daniel leaned back in his chair. "I think it's best if you focus on back-end maintenance. Let me handle strategy." I took a breath. I need to think about this. My father's voice was ice. "There's nothing to think about. This is how it is." That night, I met Jessica at a coffee shop. She'd brought everything. Code commits, email threads, client contracts. "You have everything," she said. "You could walk away and prove you built this." "And then what?" I asked. "Start over? Or make them acknowledge the truth?" I thought about it for a long time. Finally, I decided I'd confront them. Privately, one last time, with evidence. If they refused to acknowledge me, I'd leave, and I'd take my reputation with me. Jessica helped me prepare a binder of evidence, legal summaries, a timeline of every contribution I'd made. Meanwhile, my father and Daniel were planning an announcement event. "Celebrating Daniel's vision," the invite said. I walked past my father's office one evening. The door was cracked. I heard his voice. "When she's reporting to you, she won't cause problems." Daniel's voice. "What if she quits?" My father laughed. "She won't. She has nowhere else to go, and no one will believe she did this alone." I stood there in the hallway, and I knew I was done trying to earn their respect. I requested a meeting. Just the 3 of us, my father's office. I brought the binder. My father looked annoyed when I walked in. "Make it quick. We have the announcement event tonight." I set the binder on his desk. "I'm not going to that event, and neither should you." Daniel frowned. "What are you talking about?" I opened the binder, slid the first document across the table. "This is every email I sent to clients, every pitch I wrote, every contract I negotiated." I pointed to the top page. "Here's the email thread where I landed our biggest client, dated 2 years ago." My father barely glanced at it. "So? You did your job. You told investors Daniel did this alone. I pulled out the second document. Code commit history. Time-stamped. This is the platform build log. My name. My code. 87% of the repository. Daniel shifted in his seat. I pulled out the invention disclosure form. And this, I slid it toward Daniel, is the algorithm you told that reporter you developed. Dad said. I cut him off. I don't care what Dad said. You lied. My father stood. His face was red. You're being ridiculous. This is a family business. I stood too. Then treat me like family. I pulled out the final section. Client testimonials. All of them praising me by name. I read one aloud. Sophia is the reason we trust this platform. Her technical skill and integrity are unmatched. My father waved his hand. Those clients don't know the full picture. They know better than you do. Daniel tried a softer approach. Sophia, we appreciate you, but leadership isn't just about technical work. I looked at him. Really looked at him. You're right, I said. It's about honesty, vision, integrity. I have all three. You've shown none. My father's voice dropped. If you're so unhappy, what do you want? A title? Fine. VP of Engineering. I don't want a title from you anymore. He froze. What does that mean? It means I'm done. I'm leaving. Daniel's voice cracked. You can't just leave. We need you. I met his eyes. You needed me 3 years ago. You need me now. But you've never valued me. My father's voice turned cold. You walk out, you get nothing. No equity. No severance. Nothing. I smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. I have something better than equity in a company built on lies. I pulled out my phone, showed them the LinkedIn messages. I've been contacted by 3 companies in the last year. I turned them down. I'm not turning them down anymore. I showed them the message from a competitor. Senior engineer role. Better pay. I spoke with Jessica. I said, legally, my intellectual contributions are documented. If you claim Daniel built this alone, you're opening yourself to dispute. My father stared at me. You'd sue your own family? I don't want to sue. I want you to tell the truth. Silence. Finally, my father spoke. I can't do that. It'll undermine Daniel's credibility. I picked up the binder. Then you've made your choice. I walked to the door. Sophia, wait. I turned, looked at Daniel. You had 100 chances to speak up. You stayed silent. That's a choice too. And I walked out. 2 weeks later, I accepted the senior engineering role. My new CEO was a woman, mid-50s. She'd reviewed my code portfolio during the interview. This is exceptional work, she'd said. Why weren't you in leadership before? I'd smiled. Long story, but I'm ready now. Meanwhile, my father and Daniel were struggling. The platform had bugs, small ones, the kind only I knew how to fix. Clients started asking where I was. A few threatened to leave. Daniel called. I didn't answer. My father sent an email. We need to talk. Let's be reasonable. I replied with one sentence. I was always reasonable. You were never fair. A month later, the funding round fell through. Investors cited loss of key technical talent. I heard about it through industry contacts. I didn't feel satisfied. Just sad. I ran into Daniel at a coffee shop one afternoon. He looked tired. Dad's talking about shutting down the company, he said. I'm sorry. He frowned. Are you really? I thought about it. I'm sorry it came to this. I'm not sorry I left. He was quiet for a moment. Then, I should have said something. In those meetings. I should have told them it was you. Yeah, I said. You should have. For what it's worth, I know you built it. I picked up my coffee. I don't need you to know anymore. I already know. For once, their silence didn't hurt me. It freed me. I finally understood I never needed their approval. I just needed my own. If you've ever had to walk away from people who refuse to see you, you know how hard it is. And how necessary. I didn't get the apology I deserved. I didn't get the recognition I earned, not from them. But I got something better. I got myself back. Where are you watching from? Drop it below. I always check. And if you've ever been erased by the people who should have celebrated you, tell me your story in the comments. Your work matters. Your voice matters. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Hit subscribe if this resonated with you. You're not alone. I'm Sophia. And I built something they can never take away. My own respect.